The bells went on for 12 clangs, and still I edited it really badly. You've probably noticed I'm not much of a joiner in, and I'm not much of one for celebrations. So this isn't a what do you call it, spooktacular, phantasmagorial, gore fest thing. It's model making. So today we have Frankenstein, well, son of Frankenstein actually, which is all played by Boris Karloff, and they're just stretching out the franchise. So it's Frankenstein with a woolly gilet. Anyway, so the two classic first and second Frankensteins are the best films with Karloff, and the second one's just hilarious. But anyway, this is the model I could find, so we're going to make it. I'm not actually sure who it's by. I think there's something engraved on part of it, so we'll see if we discover that as time goes by. And he's quite big. Don't know what scale either. This is the only information I've really got on this character, so let's have a look. I've just had a thought, looking at these, putting them together, and the fact that you do get instructions. We'll look at those when it's their turn, but you get these funny little pictures, you get the stuff, it all comes in a polythene bag like that. There's no box. Have I bought bootleg models? Well, I suppose it's step 2 of the paintwork, which is to add a bit of weathering to things like the trousers and a bit of mud to the boots. That'll all get fine-tuned once it's all together, and a bit of fur, sort of highlighting. I've looked at what people have got on the internet. I haven't seen one of these, but there's some sort of kind of action man-y figure things, and sometimes his sort of shirt or jacket underneath the fur is red or brown. Seems a bit jazzy to me. And sometimes the fur is a very red brown or even a yellow, whereas I'm going for sort of a dark red brown with a bit of highlighting, and his shirt or jacket is going to be as dark as his trousers. I'm going to try and emphasise a bit of wear and tear and muck, because I don't believe Frankenstein was particularly high on personal hygiene and male grooming. I mean, that ain't much of a hairdo, is it? Well, I suppose it is actually. It's a hell of a flat top. So, grot. That's what I'm going for. Very interesting. I can pop the arms in. They're just like that. But I can't get the legs to fit into the torso. And I won't muck around with it too much, but let's see if I can jam that up against there. What a racket. They don't go in deep enough into the torso, so he looks very long and stretched. Admittedly, he's made out of a lot of different people's bits and pieces. That's the whole concept. But he just looks a bit wrong. I've squeezed this because this is very flexible, but even so it won't go in. So I'm going to have to, I think, cut several millimetres off the top of his hips, I guess, his waistline, and try not to cut myself in the process. I keep saying Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is the doctor. I know, horror fans, I'm just carried away with the excitement of doing it all. You can see the stuff I've shaved off on the right, and we're only just sort of fitting. I think if I take any more off, I'll start to separate his legs. So I'll stop there and apply quite a lot of glue probably, and see how that goes. I'm going to have to start with this bit, because if this doesn't work, well, it's going to take some rough and tumble, I think, and a lot of squeezing and things. So I don't want to go knocking his head and his arms off. It's not a great start, is it? Never mind. There he is with his legs and his boots on. I believe in the film they were divers' boots. That's quite a clever idea. It's going okay now. The boots went on a treat. The legs, I still feel he's a little bit long in the body. I think Boris Karloff was quite tall, wasn't he? But there we go. So yeah, it's coming together now. I feel a little bit more positive. And so it's time for the arms. Then I've got to paint the flesh. Very interesting. It's not really as Mary Shelley imagined him, is it? I know this is Son of Frankenstein, but it's just basically Boris Karloff with a woolly gilet. So yeah, things moved on and developed. The first two films are brilliant, particularly the second one with Karloff. Anyway, there we go. BBC are they're doing a series of War of the Worlds in Britain around about 1900 or so, which is sort of where and when it was set in the book by H.G. Wells. That'll be interesting. Even if it's kind of rubbish, it would just be interesting to see it in the context Orson Welles imagined it in. Anyway, enough of looking at this grey blob. Let's move on. Just before it vanishes for all time, there's a little logo and title for the company, which I believe is geometric. And the date there, 1998. Core. If I knew then what I knew now. So I've ended up with a spare arm. Could put that to use somewhere, couldn't I? That could be a 1/35th scale lagged pipe in a ruined factory. Perhaps with a T-34 ploughing through. But also, I know I mentioned it, but let's go back. 3 hands. Which one do I choose? The interesting thing is, for his right hand, that one there, that's the only version you get. So he's got a clenched fist, one way or the other. Obviously, having a tense day. But his left hand, we have options, including a number of thumbs and some fingers. Still, oh come on, I still haven't worked out what that is. It could be the top of his head, or it could be a very badly made pie. Perhaps he's having a cooking fiasco. I am no chef. I start smashing the kitchen up just when I do toast. It is appalling. Everything comes out of a packet. Anyway, so we have hands, thumbs, the lot. You won't be surprised to find I like that one. There's a bit of drama there. And a spare hand won't hurt, will it? So I might make that one up just to see how it comes out. I'll do that first and then make the decision. Yeah, once again a beginner's mistake. Actually, I got the hands wrong, didn't I? I'd got that one on that side, thinking it was his left hand. But it turns out it's the other way round. Which makes it more exciting. So I will move that one out of the way. Don't know what we'd be doing with it. Well, like I say, stressed. And the fit isn't brilliant. I could have trimmed things up a bit better, but I'm going to plop in a bit of filler. And I quite like the idea, seeing as he is made up of bits and pieces, of him looking a bit ill-fitting, to be quite honest. That works for Frankenstein and his son, doesn't it? It's not often you get the opportunity to explore that avenue. I'm probably about there with the head. I wanted the skin surface to look rather rough, so there are a lot of layers, and the first couple of layers are very heavy, kind of with brush strokes. So gradually that starts to come through, or although there's layers over it, it still comes through. And I wanted him to look rather green. As my mum would say, green around the gills. I think green around everywhere, actually. So that's good. I'm happy with that. There is an interesting little thing I'd like to mention, and that is, you're going to think, what's he on about at this point? I've reached 400 subscribers. In fact, it was 401 when I looked a little while ago. Hooray, thank you all for subscribing. I nearly got there a little while ago, but some people dropped off. And most of them, not all, but most of them I know because perhaps the channel name is a little confusing. Model Meltdown. I get to see who's subscribed. And there were some young ladies who seemed to think it might be to do with angry people on the catwalk. So some of them have gone. Not all, I have to say. So I was thinking maybe I should do this as the head, as a separate little program to do with hair and makeup. Because not only am I doing him, at the same time I'm doing a couple of other heads, but I've got this one in particular, it's very, very visible. So I was tempted to do a hair and makeup special, just for those people who feel they might be a little let down by the name of the channel. What do you think? Maybe I should get some heads together and do one of those. Let me know in the comments below, people. Hand. I accidentally made a mess of the filling there, and it looked quite good, so I've kind of made it look a bit raw. Does Frankenstein have blood? I don't know, he often has kind of colourful, not colourful, but sort of reddish stuff in the, like the film posters and the comics. So I'll go with that. And there's the other hand, a little bit better on the filling, but therefore less exciting, I suppose. And I've made his palms of his hand very grubby, because, as I say, don't think he's good with personal hygiene. We'll come back to the other fella, the other head, later. Not on this one. First thing to say is I think he came out okay. Things could have been far worse, as I often say. And this is, I reckon this is my first vinyl model ever. I think my older cousin had some, and he'd got some weird connections with America. So I'd seen a few, but I've never done any. And it was alright. Came out, as I say, sort of as I expected. The funny thing is you don't get that many parts, do you? So it's mostly painting. But there we go. He's done. The next thing that strikes me is he looks like he's been caught halfway through doing the Monster Mash and he's just kind of frozen in shock. Is he? I can't remember. I think I must have seen the film as a kid. Has he got? Should he have a battering ram in his hand or something, or is this just a fine pose? But there we go, that's that one out of the way. Next thing is, let's declare this the beginning of the celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, of which I keep saying there will be more later. So we'll have a look at Dr. Caligari in a little while. I can't find a good Caligari model. There was one on eBay and it was going for something like nearly 500 quid. So I thought, nah, I'll skip that. That seems a bit much. So that's all I could find. I'll keep looking just in case. It's not exactly the most kind of model-genic film in the world, but it is a masterpiece. And then there's Halloween itself. What fun we all have. it's a very interesting phenomena. It's one of those ancient pagan, for want of a better word, celebrations. We could kind of look at that in more detail one day, maybe next year. But it's very interesting because it's where the many different realms, which might be called dimensions these days, all synchronise, and doorways in them align. Therefore we can all come, it's not just about ghosts appearing, we can all come and go through these doorways into different realms. So quite a kind of psychedelic phenomena. I'm always interested in that. Should happen 4 times a year at the 4 different kind of cardinal points in the year. This, I think, is associated with death mostly because we're beginning winter, and winter is the age of death. So there we go. Anyway, there's Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's Monster, son of Frankenstein. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and there'll be more soon, probably with a Halloween theme.